basement.
Yeah.
And it quit just after I got 6.
Okay. Welcome to our March 10th Finance Committee meeting. We'll begin with board introductions on my left.
Jeff Henley.
Joanne O'Brien.
Molly Rogers,
Dan Coates.
Becky Fless,
Tony V.
Linda Caputo, Megan Carlson. Administrative staff.
Katie Gould, Superintendent.
Andrea Dish, Business Manager.
Sarah Bolduc, Director of Special Services. Lauren Arman, Principal at Gardner High School. Chris Levine, Principal at Laura E. Richards School.
Nate Stubbert, Athletic Director.
Vicky Duty, Building Principal at Riverview Community School.
Terry McGuire, Director of Technology. Beth Joy, Principal at Red Up Consolidated School. Sherry Poole, Principal at HG.
Gabe Gosti.
We're doing administrative stuff.
Hey, Gosti facility.
Low
light.
Perfect, excellent. So we'll begin tonight with our first item on the agenda is the 26-27 fuel bid update.
So the first item on the agenda is just an FYI only. In front of you or in the packets I handed you, pages 2 and 3, you will see both a ULSD bid analysis as well as a gasoline bid analysis. I want you to know that that these were done, I would say maybe a week or two before the bombings in Iran rather. So what I heard from CES after we went to bid and we secured is that the bid shot up by 59% afterwards. So we just missed that by 2 weeks. But what you see is on the first one that says ULSD, it's our diesel. As a reminder, we use diesel in all of our buses. We operate the fuel depot along with the city. We are the ones who purchase all the fuels and operate the fuel depot. So the low bidder for this bid was Dennis K. Burke at a bid price of $2.51 and change a gallon. There's actually a savings that you'll see in green in the second the second spreadsheet or the second block below where you see last year's rate and this year's rate. So you see that we are actually going to save $4,985 compared to our current bid. So that was definitely a plus. The other bid that you see is gasoline. We are not the highest users of gasoline. We basically only use gasoline in a few of the vans that we run, as well as our maintenance trucks. The city is basically the heavy user of gasoline. And this bid as well, Dennis K. Burke was the low bidder. Actually, it was the only bidder. The price per gallon is $2.3990. And there's actually a savings from the current bid of $2,848. When these bids are given to us, we probably have all of 10 minutes to lock in. It's a very fast turnaround. And based on recommendation from Competitive Energy Services, who we use to bid out electricity as well as our liquid fuels, we locked in, and I'm really happy to say that I was glad that we did so when we did. So that's just an FYI. Any questions about gasoline or diesel bids? While we're talking about CES, they reached out to me this week about bids for electricity supply. That is not doing as well, and that is not reflected in the budget that you're looking at. They are looking at electricity costs based on our past usage of about a $50,000 increase. So we have not locked in yet. That was received after the start of everything going on in the Middle East. We're just kind of holding and waiting, hoping things will get better, but it's an unknown. So we're going to do the best we can with that. Our current electricity supply rates expire in December 2026. So we have a little bit of time. Questions about that? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought you were gonna keep going. Sorry. So next on the agenda is the 26-27 preliminary budget.
Yes, so as in the past, tonight is an overview. We really have, Andrea has rolled over our current services, programs, staffing, and you're going to see what the costs across the board would be for us to maintain everything that we have right now, changing nothing. And so I'll turn it over to you, Andrea.
So the budget that you have in front of you is, as Katie said, it's a matter of rolling over our existing staff according to the new collective bargaining, as well as projected health insurance rates. It also includes the requisitions or the requests by all of the department heads as well as the schools. So that is also reflected in this budget. What you don't see is any added personnel. We have kept the personnel as we currently have in the current year. The only personnel that was added between last budget and this year's budget was a kindergarten position at LER, which was voted on last summer due to kindergarten rates, kindergarten enrollment rather. So that is also captured in here, but we have not added additional nurses. We have not added additional teachers. There are no other personnel added into this budget that we are looking at tonight.
Now, is this reflective of fully staffed education? Because I know we had a mass of resignations and we've got some retirements and we were already short-staffed in certain areas, so.
So the budget that you have in front of you has the same positions in the budget that we had this year with the addition of that one kindergarten position. So it does include those unfilled positions in special ed that we had. So
Okay.
yes,
So this is what it's gonna be if we're fully staffed.
correct.
Okay.
Yep. So the budget that you have in front of you is an increase of, it's an increase of $3,145,123.66. That's a 9.57% increase over our current year budget. If you look at it by each of the expenditure articles, which is how the Department of Education requires us to vote on our budget. I'm going to go through what that looks like in each of our expenditure articles. Actually, I'm going to wait until the overview on the next page. It's kind of stupid to run through it and then run through it in the overview. So there is the 90-foot level or the 90,000-foot level. The next 3 pages provide a more in-depth overview of the increases in each of the expenditure articles. So you'll see 2026, 2027 initial requested budget and increase overview by expenditure articles. So we see Article 1, which has an increase of 7.68% or $1,005,827.63. This is where our regular instruction programs reside. It's also where REACH resides, as well as our district instructional ed techs. The main driver of this increase is salaries. So salaries comprise $476,745.86 of that $1 million increase. The next line is substitutes. We have increased, or I have increased that substitute line. We are spending more in substitutes than what we have budgeted. To date, we almost have $300,000 spent in substitutes as of today, and it's very obvious that we needed to increase where we were. So I tried to find someplace in the middle, and 47,000 seemed about right. We have a lot of absences throughout the district on a daily basis. The next increase is health and dental insurance, and as we talked about, Anthem was projecting a 15% increase. The $250,506 represents the increase to instructional staff for health insurance. The next item that you see is paid family medical leave. That increase is $47,226.34. The reason that this is an increase is because we were not allowed to begin deducting paid family medical leave deductions for those employees who were in a collective bargaining agreement when the law changed. Their collective bargaining agreement does not end until August 31st, coming up, 2026. So starting in September, we will begin to take those deductions from teacher members because their CBA ends.
And the increase for us, will you just explain that?
Oh, sorry. So the paid family medical leave, it's a 1% overall tax. And I'm calling it a tax because that's really what it is. And with all of the rest of our bargaining groups, our desire is to split that tax 0.5% and 0.5%. So the district would pick up 0.5% on wages and the employee would pick up 0.5%, which is currently what we're doing with the rest of our staff and what almost all of the districts that I have seen are currently doing. The next increase is main PERS and payroll taxes.
I just have a.
Sorry, Beck.
That's okay. A question about the sub line, $47,000. Do you have, this is sort of relative, an average? How many subs do we need in a day, any given day?
Oh, gosh, around
More than what we have.
30.
36 a day.
We have an average. This is, don't quote me, but we
No,
have
this
on
is like off
average,
the cuff, I know.
that's the number of absences that we would have. Not every position.
Gets filled because we don't have a sub.
Exactly.
And I'm asking that because it's $47,000, but I don't think the people watching and I mean, I see Joanne's face is surprised. I don't know that people really realize how many subs that we need every day. And how important it is to us that people just come to work because that's seemingly a small number. $47,000, that's a
We're-
lot of
Yep.
absences for our
We're-
staff.
Also expecting that to go up with the rollout of paid family medical leave. So everybody who's been paying into paid family medical leave hasn't been able to start taking leave. That leave starts for those people who have been contributing on May 1st, 2026. So the law also has a top off, which means that if they take a leave through the state and they don't get their full wages, there's some, I don't know if I want to call it requirement on the district to make them whole. So that language in paid family medical leave is evolving, but we're expecting to see additional absences because of the rollout of that. Teacher members who have not been contributing and will begin contributing on September 1st, they will not be able to take leave until September 1st. So when they begin taking deductions, and they would be able to also apply for paid family medical leave through the state. Our worry is that when they are on paid family medical leave, they are not required to use their sick time. So we are worried that staff members may take paid family medical leave, and then when it's time for them to return to the district and start using accrued leaves, their sick time and whatnot. So it's a real concern.
Thank you, and I'm sorry to surprise you with that.
You're fine.
I'll
You're
try
fine.
and call you to let you know my wonderments, but I think these are things we need to
Yep.
consider as we're building the budget.
I think as COVID ended, I think the need for substitutes, and I don't know that I don't know what about COVID changed things, but it's very obvious that things have changed. We seem to have a lot more absences than we did pre-COVID.
Thank you, Andrea.
Do you have anything to?
I do not have anything to add there.
I think one of the things we need to find out is why so many people need to take time off and medical leave. And just looking at the retirements and resignations, not that it's any of our business, but you know, how much of it is the stress of the job that's causing some of this, and what can we do to alleviate it? So that people feel more together, more healthy in coming in and facing their classrooms every day.
It's not only the classroom teachers, it's throughout the entire
Everywhere.
district. It is from,
Well, everybody
From-
that
yeah.
is overworked and stressed. And I would say you would be a prime example of someone who's overworked and trying to finagle all this stuff. You know, we're sitting here, but I remember as a teacher, there were days where it's like, oh my God, I just can't go in, you know, aches, pains, whatever, falling sick a lot, and a lot of it has to do with stress. And how do we make a healthier workforce?
And as you know, our strategic plan, one of the pillars in our strategic plan really is around educator sustainability and trying to infuse our system with support so that we can provide what is needed for a functional, joyful workplace, and also have all of our roles filled from day to day so that we can conduct the business that we're here to do. So it is absolutely a challenge.
How much of these items we're looking at in Article 1 are contractual?
salaries are contractual, health and dental insurance is contractual, paid family medical leave is contractual, and by law, main PERS and payroll taxes, that's contractual. Purchase services, that would be software. I'm not quite sure the commitments on all of those. And supplies would not be contractual.
Okay, so there's only 3 items really that are
Yep.
not, that we're not obligated to.
We have cut so much in past years, Jeff, that there really
It's to the bone.
there really isn't fluff, and yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah, if we want to stress out teachers more and staff, yes, let's cut supplies and, you know, expect them to bring stuff in on their own.
Don't put words in my mouth, I'm not doing that, but.
No, I'm
I
just
mean,
saying, these are things that we don't have to have, but I'm saying, we're trying to talk about educator sustainability, and if you're not gonna give them the supplies, that's gonna be stressful.
But because the problem with substitutes is that when someone calls in, you're paying twice for the same day. Because whoever calls in is taking a sick day, which,
Yes,
They
they're
get
being
paid.
paid for, and yes, we have to
Yeah,
pay for
and so, I mean,
substitute.
that's a big expense. And that's the $47,000,
That's the increase, right?
that's the increase over
That's the
what we
increase.
spent.
Yes,
in
that's
last
the
year's
increase.
budget.
Yep, that's the increase.
So, do we have those numbers, or can we have those numbers?
I'm going to
I don't want to hold this up, but.
no, you are fine. I'm going to share with you a folder. I'm still trying to navigate this, but I will share with you a folder. There is a much larger budget document that provides all the numbers that you need to see. It's probably 128 pages. I didn't want to print it, but you can go through and look at, it shows every line in every school for every program, so that you can see where these numbers come from. I didn't really think that we would have time to go through that, but
We don't.
right.
Not in this lifetime.
But I would be happy to answer any questions about what you see outside of the boardroom. I mean, outside of here. I mean, if you have questions, email me.
No.
All right?
I think my question was very similar to Jeff's, but this is a $47,000 increase from where? Because you said something was over.
Zero. So the last year, there was no paid family medical leave taken out for the majority of the teachers.
No, I mean substitute.
Oh, sorry,
That's okay.
substitutes. I increased it from 47,000 from what I budgeted last year.
And that's what I mean is,
Yeah.
What was
because you
the
said something
budget?
was 300,000, so What was last year's
So
in comparison to?
last year, off the top of my head, it was 200 and maybe something. I
Okay.
spread substitutes over several programs.
Mhm.
So I'll get a better answer for you, but that is what I budgeted as an increase.
Okay.
I honestly think that we could use more, but it's trying to find that balance, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next item, does anybody have any more questions before I continue?
No, but I'm glad you're asking, Joanne and Jeff and Molly, I'm glad you're asking questions because this is good.
Well, for everybody else also to
Absolutely.
hear.
Yep.
We all need to know this.
So the next item on this list is main PERS and payroll taxes. So I just want to explain to everyone that main PERS is the Maine Public Employees Retirement System. And we have positions here who are required to participate in main PERS in lieu of Social Security. So our administrators, our teachers, our Ed Checks 2s, and our 3s participate in main PERS, but they do not participate in Social Security. So we pay on their behalf the same amount that we would pay towards not quite, a little bit less for Social Security. All other members are not allowed to join main PERS. We are not a PLD, a participating local district. So all of our other employees belong to Social Security. So I just wanted to explain that because sometimes there's people think that teachers get retirement on top of their Social Security, but it's in lieu of. So I just wanted to take a second and explain that. So those increases, that increase for instruction is up $67,028.94. Purchase services in instruction, which is probably mostly instructional software, web-based software, that's up $13,974.36. And supplies for the instructional classrooms, and this is regular instructional classrooms only, that's up $103,346.13. Questions? Okay. Article 2, special education. Article 2 is up 15.76% or $924,729.39. Of that, $235,853.59 is salaries, and those are contractual. $141,416.54 is health and dental insurance. That is also contractual by CBA. Main PERS and payroll taxes for special education staff, that is both administrators, ed techs, and teachers. That's up $37,905.07. Main care seed money, that's up $46,050. And for those of you who are wondering what main care seed is, we send some of our students who we cannot provide programming for to special purpose private schools. If that student is a main care eligible student, that special purpose private school gets to bill the state for main care services. So in all other main care models, the state would pick up, I'm gonna round this, the 40%, and the feds would pick up the 60%. But when we're talking about school-aged children, DHHS or the state does not pick up the local contribution, schools do. So in order to pay for that, it basically gets deducted from our subsidy throughout the year. And in order to mitigate for those deductions to our revenue, we have to budget for the offset. We have seen our main care seed expenditures increasing exponentially over the last 2 years. Especially, so there are 3 areas or 4 areas that they're allowed to bill main care for, OT, PT, speech and language, behavioral. Sarah, am I missing one?
That's 4.
That's 4. There we go. So the big increases that we're seeing is behavioral. So and if you've been watching or reading the newspapers rather, you'll see that there's been a tug of war between the feds and the state regarding billing for some of these services. So I'm not quite sure how this is going to work out. It may be that the services will stop, or rather the services may not stop, and that we would be responsible for 100% of the cost. Anyway, for the time being, I am budgeting what I think is a palatable increase, hoping that it doesn't go over that amount for next year.
That's not contractual, though. I mean,
That is, it is not contractual, but we are required to provide it if the services are in the IEP. Okay, special ed, professional services, speech, there was an increase of $2,000. Tuition, special purpose private schools. So I just mentioned what special purpose private schools are. We have an increase in anticipated tuition for next year in the amount of $448,654.69. These are students that we cannot provide programming for. Sarah, do you wanna?
Some of those students are here and we're awaiting placement. So that means an IEP team has agreed that we're not able to provide services in district. We're providing some sort of service right now, usually tutoring of some sort. While we're seeking placement, we put out applications and we're in some process waiting to hear back. Those placements can take years. Sometimes they're very quick. We've had some that have happened in weeks, but we have some friends we're waiting on right now. We also have 5 or 6 students from CDS, Andrea. Initially, we were told 6. It was reduced to 5. I don't know where that happened when you did the budget, but we do have 5 students. This budget might reflect 6 coming in from CDS that CDS has said these are kindergarten students. So those are students we'd be responsible for. I'm not talking about the 4-year-olds, which the state will still pay for, that are either currently placed or waiting to be placed out of district as well. And we'll have transition meetings on all of those students this spring. Our first round is April 6th, I believe. Prior to those transition meetings, either Chrissy or I will typically go observe. We might ask a special program teacher to join us, so either our STEPS or STARS teachers, and see if there's any opportunity for those students to come in district.
it's a pretty big increase, isn't it? Almost $500,000 above your current spending. How many more students did you say are gonna be added to this?
5 that are
Maybe 6?
maybe 6 depending on when this was printed. Each placement without seed and without transportation is about $80,000. So
I was gonna say, so this does not include transportation. That would be under the transportation budget?
Yes, that is, we will come across it in our little road trip.
So if I have 5 kiddos coming in, 80,000 each, that's 400,000 of what's there.
There's sort of no guarantee someone might not move into the district and we'll get another one. I'm imagining there's sort of a good faith effort when students are in placement that they're gonna try to get back into districts as things change or if things change.
I'm always very transparent with families. That's my job at those meetings. I attend all those meetings. And if I can't, Chrissy does, the Assistant Director of Special Services. And the question I ask at every single one of those meetings, we have a criteria for placement. So we have to say there's criteria like unsafe behavior or some other extreme circumstances. And we revisit that at every one of those meetings. And if we're ready to come back in any capacity. We've transitioned a student back this last year from a placement to our high school. And we have another one we're working on right now, but it's going to be a slow progression.
Thank you. And then I'm sure you've looked at it, but we don't really have an option to create something like that here. We hire a special staff member to do this at a
The sixth one, that CDS, initially we had 6 students and then they said 5. The sixth one said if we could find a one-on-one, we could probably program for them in district. We have come up with some creative solutions before. It's not applicable at this time to any of our currently placed students. I don't know about our incoming kindergarten yet. That'll pan out over the course of the spring. You're welcome.
And that's really where those observations come in, extremely helpful.
We started those last year and it was very helpful.
Yeah.
It certainly helped our process.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Sarah. The increase for supplies for special education is $12,849.50, again, for a grand total of $924,729.39. For CTE instruction, as we discussed during the board meeting, there is no contribution to the local. However, if you remember, Linda mentioned that the CATC did state that they are looking at a cost sharing formula for next year, and that we will be expected to share in. Yeah.
27, yeah,
Yeah.
28.
28. Other instruction is an increase of 5.74% or $47,134.09. What lives in other instruction is basically athletics, co-curricular, as well as academic tutorial, or the high school refers to it as credit recovery. So that is what lives in Article 4. So in Article 4, there's an increase to salaries and benefits of $2,177.98. There's an increase to athletic transportation for $20,781.74. For software for academic tutorial at the high school, there's an increase of $2,500 for, I believe it's Edmentum, or?
Yes.
Yes.
That money, I think, was actually just shifted, so it's neutral for us, but it was shifted from a line, so it looks like an increase in that section, but the money was the same amount.
Thanks. For purchase services athletics, there's an increase of $890.11. And for athletic supplies, there's an increase of $20,784.26 for an overall increase of $47,134.09. Questions?
So, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
did you go, you can go first. Okay, so these are increases, and so this has nothing to do with any money that comes in from boosters or parent groups or anything else. This is what the district has to lay out. Okay,
The 2 items, the salaries
The
for
first-
athletic transportation, is that contractual?
The first 2 are contractual. Those are the only 2 that are contractual. In this year's, and the collective bargaining agreement that was just passed with bus drivers, they get a, bus drivers, when they do co-curricular and extracurricular routes, they actually get a, what's the word? A differential, thank you. A differential, because they were struggling to find drivers who would be willing to do trips. So there's now a differential, and part of that is the reflected, that's part of the increase. Okay.
How about athletic supplies? That's a sizable increase. What drives that?
That is itemized, and Andrea and I will review that with our
Okay.
athletic director, Nate, in the coming days.
You want me to speak to it right now?
Sure.
Okay, so the sizable increase right now, without having it itemized right in front of me, I can say, last year we had uniform rotation. We have uniform rotation every 5 years. And last year, because of the situation that the budget was in last year, we had 3 teams that we didn't purchase uniforms for last year, and we pushed them to this year. One of those teams, the uniforms were $11,000. So that's a pretty big portion of that $20,000, plus the other 2 teams. And then we added indoor track. So as well, so we're gonna add some additional supplies with indoor track as well. So that's the bulk of that $20,000.
If at any time you want so the copy of the budget that I've placed in this folder that I will share with you, there is actually another in-depth version that basically shows every single requisition that individuals are requesting. I could also put that in the folder. That is a much larger, but what I will say is Katie and I are still meeting with administrators. There are administrators that we have yet to meet with. So what are looking at may or may not, so just heads up.
Adjustments are coming.
There you
No
go.
question.
Give me something else to think about.
There you go. There you go. The next expenditure article is Article 5, student and staff support. A lot of things live in student and staff support. All of those departments that are not either regular instruction or special ed instruction, such as the social worker, guidance, health, where our nurses are, instructional coaches, PLCSS, which is our professional learning community, which are our mentors that are required to support our teachers, as well as there is a committee that,
Certification.
there you go,
Got it.
to approve certification plans. Technology lives in student and staff support, as well as curriculum and assessment. So Article 5 is up 6.2% or $342,935.33. Of that, $15,454.54 is an increase in salaries and benefits for social workers. That is contractual. An increase of $21,804.11 for salary and benefits for guidance counselors. Again, that is contractual. An increase of $42,529.17 for health services. And while we're talking about health services, this does not include the additional nurse or a contracted nurse at Riverview. So that is not this increase. That is actually not in the budget at this time. Salaries, benefits for curriculum and assessment in the amount of $6,967.75. That is contractual. Salaries and benefits for instructional coaches, an increase of $41,318.10. That is contractual. Salaries and benefits for PLCSS, it's actually a reduction of $669.81. Salaries and benefits for library media, that is an increase of $32,668.60. Salaries for technology, that's our entire technology department, that is an increase of $10,236.99. Purchase services for social work, that is a web-based software, increase of $6,500. Purchase services software for curriculum, an increase of $16,454. Software instructional technology, that's software used in the classroom. That's an increase of $101,655.16. And supplies technology, an increase of $48,016.72.
Scroll down just so that
Sure.
anyone not here can see where we are. Thank you.
The 101,000 is pretty substantial.
Yes. Technology
Your
is,
software?
A lot of the things that we purchased during COVID, with all of our COVID monies, need to be replaced. So that is a conversation that we
haven't had that one yet.
we have yet to meet with Terry or curriculum. Am I showing what? Here we go.
6.
Sorry,
I think if we can show. 6 together. Oh, we can't. Okay.
no. All right, let's see. So the next article that we're looking at is system administration. That is where the board lives. It's also where the superintendent's office and the business office live. For that article, or for that cost center rather, article, is the proper word. There is an increase of 4.82% or $50,254. Of that, salaries is $5,335.97. Health and dental insurance, an increase of $13,714.80. Main PERS and payroll taxes, an increase of $815.54. Insurance liability is the board liability as well as the district liability, an increase of $7,500. The budget newsletter, actually to cover the cost of elections in the event that we don't have an election scheduled with the state, we need to pick up the entire cost. So that would be an increase for it's actually a budget, not a newsletter cost. Audit services, a projected increase of $5,000. Legal services, an increase of $5,000. Purchase services and software, an increase of $4,830, and supplies, an increase of $5,357.72 for an overall projected increase of $50,254.03. Questions? School administration. School administration is the office of the principal. It includes principals, assistant principals, as well as your administrative assistants who work in the school office. That increase is 5.05% or $94,207.23. Of that, salaries is $44,539.44. Health and dental insurance is $41,366.04. Main PERS and payroll taxes is $2,427.84. Purchase services is $5,308.08. And supplies is $565.83. Questions about Office of the Principal, School Administration? Transportation. Transportation consists of transportation to and from school. It also consists of transportation to the vocational center. It also consists of homeless transportation, which we are required to provide, as well as transportation to special purpose private schools. This article does not include transportation for athletics or co-curricular. The overall increase in transportation is $280,889.86, or an 11.21% increase. Of that, salaries is $23,269.60. Health insurance is $2,082.60. PFML and payroll taxes is a reduction of $1,040.12. And I know you're wondering why, because there was a reduction in workers' comp for that group of employees. So it actually netted out so that it was actually an overall reduction. So anyway. Repairs and maintenance, reduction of $3,190. The bus routing software, BusRite, is that the name of it? Increase of $1,100. Annual bus lease, for those of you who are wondering, we do not own our buses. We actually lease our buses, and they take care of all of the maintenance and repairs on our buses. We just basically get in them and drive them. We are charged a per mile cost. The per mile cost for next year has increased, and the overall lease has increased. As a result, the overall lease has increased by $31,750. The next item is the item that Sarah was referring to, purchase transportation for special purpose private schools, an increase of $232,525.65. Transportation supplies increased $1,132.13. CDL renewal, we are now picking up license renewals for our bus drivers. That's an increase of $295. And the fleet fuel diesel is a reduction of $7,035 for an overall increase of $280,889.86. Questions about transportation? Okay.
I was gonna say, Are special buses needed for the SPPS, and are a lot of the facilities out of state or far away?
So in response, our drivers are not providing transportation to most of our special purpose private schools, which is honestly, it's not a bad thing because the rate per mile is actually cheaper through, I want to say Gordon's transportation. In addition, our drivers do not have capacity. We barely have enough drivers to do home to school routes. And these routes are, would not coincide when these students need to be at these special purpose private schools. While it looks like a lot, I think it might be worse if we had our buses rolling over the same routes. So.
But this is an increase to the budget that's already there,
For additional students.
and it's about half of the tuition. So
How far do we transport children for these, are they,
Sarah?
Hear your question. How far do we?
how far away do we have to transport special needs children? Are they, is any of this done in-house, any of the?
Not currently, no. For a little bit,
But most of it is you're moving children away.
most of the transportation is between here and Auburn.
Belgrade, Sydney,
Thank you.
Randolph, Chelsea. Multiple Auburn sites.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at right now. We're anticipating a placement at Monmouth as well.
So these children, you pick them up at their homes and then they don't come to a school and get transported from the school? Okay.
So the challenge is most of the special purpose private
That's-
schools start at the same time our schools start up. So we have to get them there for that start time.
Mhm.
And we are providing most of the transportation to Spurwink and Randolph, I think our buses. Would you say most?
Margaret Murphy and Randolph.
Oh,
We're providing most of the transportation of those students live in district and are going to a building that is in our district. So the director of transportation can often make that work.
Molly.
Is this above and beyond the 80,000 per pupil's tuition? Okay, and is this based on 6 new students essentially, or is this all?
Part of it is those new students and part of it is we have a student that we had to allocate additional funds for in this budget that is extremely challenging to transport to a placement. And it requires a highly specialized route driver at a very high cost.
Additional questions?
Do all of our, or do any of our buses need to be retrofitted for the safety bar? And if so, are we responsible for the payment of that?
It's in the bus lease. We've had that safety bar that comes out for the student crossing. As part of our lease for the last, probably 10 years.
Okay, all of our buses have.
The only thing that we really need to provide on our buses is the camera system, right, Gabe? The cameras and the
So,
radios?
no, that's, the camera system is also part of the lease now.
Yep.
So the Sear bus maintains the camera systems for us. We are responsible for our two-way radios.
Thank you. I knew there was one of the two pieces. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
So the impact to us as far as having that safety mechanism might be swapping out a bus to make sure that we have one, but Sierra will take care of all of that, correct?
Yeah, if for some reason there's a bus that device is malfunctioning or broken, they fix it, but all our buses do have the crossing on. That comes out.
Thank you.
And they are still doing repairs in Hollowell, correct? They're still
Yes.
running their garage. So when we have to have a bus repaired, they service them in right over in.
Right up by, just past the Pauldale School.
Seen that.
Mhm. It's a really convenient arrangement. Our buses are in much better shape than a lot of the school districts. We don't have, as a result, we don't have to store tires and all of the things that we would need to repair buses. We don't We don't operate a garage. We don't employ mechanics. That is all done through Sears. So it's been a wonderful relationship for us through the years. Anyway, my 2 cents.
No, thank you.
You're welcome. The next expenditure article is facilities maintenance. There is a 9.39% increase, or $399,158.08. Of that, salaries is $19,223.33. Health and dental insurance is $41,526.96. Paid family medical leave and payroll taxes is actually a reduction for the same reason as transportation because of workers' comp, a reduction of $1,588.67. Purchase services, an increase of $4,014.51. Property and casualty insurance, which is our property insurance on our buildings, an increase of $13.50. Lease purchase for a transportation vehicle, so that is in the budget. There is a proposed lease for replacement vehicle for Gabe. Currently, there are 2 vehicles in the transportation budget. They are both used for plowing. The second vehicle, it is costing us more to maintain and repair. We've had Gabe's, how many years have we had yours?
That's 2018.
And how old is the second plow truck?
2013.
So
Yeah,
the,
we've skipped already a couple of years,
Yeah.
not getting another one.
Yeah.
It cost us well over $8,000 just to put a sticker on it last year, so that's almost getting up to the cost for a full year lease.
and again, those 2 vehicles are used to plow
Yeah.
in addition to McGee. Additional security, Gardner High School basketball, an increase of $4,080. So that is in facilities maintenance because that's part of security. So that is included in facilities. The new SRRF project, school revolving renovation fund project. So we discussed this at the board meeting, the funds that the match that we got with the state. I put $15,000 in as a placeholder for our first payment for that project. That is an increase of $15,000. Repair and maintenance services. So this part of the budget is up $343,380. But what I did was I listed all of Gabe's projects in the budget so that you would see what is in there. We talked about all of these projects when we reviewed the 5-year capital improvement plan, and I thought it would be a good idea to have those in front of you. So the first item is the Gardner High School roof repair, section 1. It's an increase of $189,000. We've already pushed this off 1 year. We will not be able to push it off another year. So that is in this year's budget. District door security controls, the increase of $95,000, talking about door controls for the schools, much like the door controls that we installed here at central office. There are security concerns. We have a lot of issues with staff members losing keys and keys needing buildings needing to be rekeyed, and this seems like a way of fixing that, but it does come at a cost. Gabe, do you want to add anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, the door controls that we put here, the main entry door would have the similar device at the front door where it has the bubble camera, so the admin assistants would have a new updated system, it'd be on your computer. The system records to the cloud, and so that way it could be reviewed if we ever needed to review that footage. It's really an amazing software that's there, and it's really for security purposes. There are so many keys that seem to be being lost every year, and I'm constantly making new keys. So those keys have gone somewhere, so for the security of our buildings, really.
So with this system, there would no longer be keys, staff would be would be issued cards, and the cards could be turned off and on, as well as accessed by Gabe, by facilities or by Terry, I'm not sure which.
So
is
staff would
between
still
you.
have a key for the interior doors,
Yes, but
but all the exterior, you would be able to access it with the card. There will be specific access points. There will not be a reader at every door. The doors that say are just fire doors that a lot of people tend to use to go in and out constantly. Again, there would be specific doors in the building that they would have to walk through for the reader.
Jeff, did you have a question? I just,
Yeah, these numbers of actual expenditure,
They're-
they aren't above a budgeted level.
these are expenditures that Gabe has estimated. However, if you add all of them up, they do add up to more than the 343,000. But I wanted you to see all the projects that were in there. And I don't know if I've answered your question.
Maybe he means they're not over and above
Yes,
something that was already in the budget.
so
For the door controls, that's the cost. It's not above the.
what's over and above is the 343,000. The high school, the entry door replacement, those are the front doors. $55,000 is the estimated cost. Another roof repair at the middle school for $48,000. Another roof repair at Pittston, this would be the K1 wing for $40,000. LER gym floor replacement of $40,000. We have issues with the gym floor at LER. We've already pushed this off for several years. We're gonna try again this year. I don't know, it's a good year, but here we are. Carpet replacement at 4 of the elementary schools, $10,000 per, at $10,000 per school for each of the 4 elementary schools for an increase of $40,000. Helen Thompson siding replacement near the kitchen, that would be a project cost of $30,000. The high school baseball dugout, which we lost again during a windstorm for replacement, that would be an estimated $30,000 cost. Pittston School has requested a marquee sign in the amount of $25,000. The high school gym wall restoration, Gabe, will you talk about that $25,000
Yeah,
project?
so this is for the side of the gym that years ago was damaged during the really bad windstorm that we had.
Lost the roof.
Yeah, when we lost the roof, they've redone the wall, but the exterior of it needs a lot of mortar repointing. So this would be to fix any of the damaged mortar that's there, clean and water seal the wall.
And for those of you who weren't here at that time, the wind actually pushed out that wall. Is that a
Yeah,
correct way of saying
the
it?
wall flexed during the windstorm.
Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought?
Are we having any water issue? Yes.
There's a small amount of water that does come in down on each corner, but it's minimal, but the problem is you can really see where the water runs off the roof. It's growing moss all down that whole side, and that means there's definitely moisture that's in there and it's holding moisture.
I'm not remembering exactly, was that an insurance claim or?
It was a huge insurance claim, and the following year, we actually we were required to go out to bid for property and casualty insurance, and as a
Oh, yes,
result,
yes,
we
yes.
had huge premiums. For those of you who aren't aware, the state of Maine requires schools or districts to rebid their property and casualty insurance every 5 years. Doesn't require us to bid out any of our other insurance, but we were required to do that. And it seems that every time that time rolls around, there's always a huge claim. So maybe next time.
And is this pointing of mortar, should that have been done then?
Some of it was done, but it's been an ongoing issue. I think it's always been an issue on that side of the building, probably since it was built. And there was some patch repair work done during that time as part of the insurance claim.
Right.
But again, it's it's been a while since, so it's
Yeah, it's been quite a few years.
having an issue again.
Okay.
Do you remember, Gabe, do you remember how much that entire claim was? Not that, it's,
$500,000.
yeah, it was huge.
Fair guess, it was somewhere in that vicinity. It was large.
We got a beautiful floor out of it.
The next item on our list is the high school, an additional more roof repair. This would be section 6A. That restoration would be about 25,000. Easton School siding replacement, project cost of 20,000. Gardner Area High School fence replacement, that would be on one of the athletic fields, Gabe? Yep, $20,000 for that project. Gardner Regional Middle School door replacement. Gabe, do you want to chat about that for a second?
Yes, I mean, we've been replacing doors. Again, it's part of the security piece. We have so many doors in our schools that they do not close properly. The middle school is getting close to 50 years old, and most of the doors are original. So this would be to do the main set of doors where everybody enters into the main building, and hoping to get one more set, probably the cafeteria doors or gym entry somewhere over there. We'll see which one's the worst. This should hopefully get us a couple doors.
Gardner Regional Middle School boiler repair. Gabe, tag you're it.
This is to repair a main heating pipe that goes into the existing boiler. There again, it's a 50-year-old boiler where the main heat pipe comes in and attaches to the boiler. The flange, just because of age, is really started to corrode. And the worry is the reason why it's so much is you need to have certain certification to work on the boiler for one thing, and it all has to be looked at by a engineer to get it all made up in their shop and bring it in. There's a lot of work to it.
Remind me, is this our backup boiler or is this the primary?
This is the backup boiler. But again, if we don't have the backup.
Oh, I agree. That's not where I was going. The estimated cost to repair the backup boiler is 15,000. The next project is high school insulate panels. This is a project that Gabe's been picking away at for years. Gabe?
Yep. The high school has a curtain wall. So they're all 1-inch panels on the outside with a steel skin and some insulation. So again, the panels are aging, they rust out, they get water in between them. And as Lauren can contest, some of the rooms have water coming in them. So this is to keep moving forward with replacing the worst ones. Every year we seem to have a batch of 5 to 7 that are the worst, and we pick the worst ones and put new ones in. And we're working our way around the building. It's by the time we get to the end, we'll have to start all over again, probably.
And the company that built the school is out of business.
But that,
The company that built the school and did the work is out of business.
oh yeah,
So-
they've been out of business for years, and one of the issues is the panels that were put in back then. They're odd thickness, they're a weird size, so you can't even get the right size. So they have to do some special gasketing and furring strips.
That's exactly where I was heading.
It's
If
kind
they're
of a
out business,
nightmare.
How are we buying panels?
It's a nightmare project every year when we look at it.
So the thickness of the panels are what, 1/4 of an inch? Is that when
The
fuel
panels
used to
are-
cost a nickel a gallon?
Panels that are in there are 1.25 inches actually, and the new panels we can only get are 1 inch. So there's 1/4 of an inch of space we need to make up somewhere.
Oh my God.
So who knows?
Schools were built back then when heating schools were not an issue.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's all there is for insulation. So 1 inch, that's it.
Transportation, the fuel depot carpet replacement in the fuel depot office. That's a estimated project cost of 10,000. LER, thank you. Trim, repair paint, that's a project cost of 10,000. Gabe, do you wanna chat about that for a second?
Yep. We have already done this in the past down at Riverview, where all of the trim along the edge of the roof line. When we redid the shingles, probably should have done it back then. But I'm assuming the shingle project probably came in over budget, so we didn't have money to do the fascia back then. There are actually some spots where Birds have pecked some holes through. So it's really time. We'd replace the really bad rotted portions of it and they would cover it with a metal trim. Which most of you, probably in your residential homes, that's what you have. You have metal fascia wrapped on your trim that's there. So it'd be going around to do that. Problem is the school's pretty big. So last year we put in 10,000 actually in this year's budget. So I'm hoping which I haven't done the project, so hoping to combine the two to get it all done at one time. So we carved it in June at the very end of this year and then this portion in July.
Central office window preventative maintenance. I know what this is. So years ago, the building was redone by the Gardner Board of Trade. They put windows in. Windows don't always open and close. Sometimes they completely fall out, as they did on someone's head years ago. So the $8,000 would be to fix the windows so that they open and close
Safely.
safely.
Was the person injured?
That was Noreen.
Oh.
That's how long ago. The window fell right out of the whatever you want to call it. Casing, thank you.
She seems okay.
Yeah, and the company's no longer in business.
Another one.
Yes.
The next item on the list is the relocation of the LER seclusion room for $8,000. Do you want someone to speak to that?
Chris, how do you feel about
Yeah, I
speaking
can
to
speak
that?
to that. With us signing on with cohort 3, as we take on CDS responsibilities for 4-year-olds, we do need extra space for specialists such as speech and language. And in looking at those spaces, that is a very large space for a seclusion room and would be better served to be a space for students to access for speech needs. We could actually have up to 2 speech therapists in that space, where the current space that speech therapy is in would only be for 1 person. So it would be moving the mats that are currently in that space to another designated space so that we have better access for students.
Gabe, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the cost for that project is a door, right? The purchase of a door?
Yes,
Yeah, and
so it would be building a door in the adjoining rooms between so that there's a non-hallway access for additional safety for a child who is escalated so that we can be able to provide them with a very safe space to access as they calm themselves and co-regulate.
The last item on our lovely list is the repair of the high school heat pump for $8,000. Gabe, do you have anything to?
The heat pumps were put in back in 2014, 15-ish. And I will say they've never worked well over there. They're trying to serve such a large area. They're split between different offices. And this actually would be to go through and actually get them working back again. We replaced a couple of heads in them.
I mean, I think at this point, we're spending more on maintaining them, and when we maintain them, they work for about a day and then they stop working.
And they do.
That's air conditioner and heat for the guidance, the main office. And
Right,
then-
it's supplemental heat for winter time, and it's air conditioning during the summer. Those are the areas that staff comes in during the summer. And it gets really hot. It does, and they really need the heat pumps to work. So if we can go through and replace some of the heat pump units and get the other ones that are working, at least working. You do something over there.
Perfect. Any more questions about anything in this list?
What was the fence replacement for athletic?
Yeah, so I don't know, some of you might have been around when the fields were put in. They were put in back in the mid to late 70s. And they're all the original fencing that's there. If you go around, especially the track, there's a lot of areas along the fence that they're just unsafe, they're rolled up. If anybody was to fall, they hurt themselves, same thing. fencing around the backstops, baseball, softball area, their curls and roll. It's, a lot of it is just at least replacing the old fabric. We may be able to use some of the piping that's there, but at least if we get the fabric and get as much done as possible.
So this is for all, any and
It's,
all
it's,
fencing?
yeah, just encompasses whatever we can fix with 20,000. But I would like to, at least especially around the track on the bleacher side, to get that all redone. We can take old black and do new black fabric. There's already a section done to try to match it in, which would be great.
Yes, right.
Just going back also in Article 9, it says additional security Gardner PD for Gardner area high school basketball. Can you talk to that? Are we having some major problems that?
Nate and I can,
Yeah.
and that's an area I think we're still looking at a reduction, so you'll see that number come down.
Well, so most high schools have security details at every single home basketball game. We don't. We have 4 boys and 4 girls. We have 18 home games total throughout the course of the season. So I've been looking to increase that amount for the last couple of years. We have packed houses at all of our home basketball games. It's just a big accident and liability waiting to happen. And I just think it's good insurance to make sure that we have detailed police officers there just in case something were to happen. I mean, you all watch social media, you see that these things do happen. They're few and far between, but in the chance that something catastrophic happens, it would be great to have, Gardner PD there.
The rest of the items in facilities maintenance, licenses and fees, an increase of 520, supplies, an increase of 6,150. Furniture, we did a cut of library furniture in the amount of a reduction in the amount of 5,500. Natural gas, an estimated increase of 15,000. Electricity, a decrease of 61,300, but that was before my conversation with CES, so I will take a peek at that again. Principal and interest existing energy projects. So for those of you who are aware, we have an existing lease that we're paying on. I think we have 5 more years for a project that we did through with Siemens. We continue to have payments. It's an escalating lease payment. So the increase for that lease payment for next year is $5,301.95 for a total expenditure article increase of $399,158.08. Article 10, there is nothing budgeted. Article 11 is other commitments. The only thing that's in Article 11 is the food pantry, which really has nothing to do, which has more to do with education, community than it does education. We're required to put it in a separate expenditure article. And there are some funds in there for if the towns or somebody, trying to think of, like, we partnered with someone, I'm gonna get this wrong. I don't know if it was the Iron Man or one of those, the car shows where we ran our buses as a contribution. That is actually community-based. We paid our drivers out of this article because obviously we can't pay it out of home to school instruction or any of those school-based transportation articles. So there's a little bit of money in that article. I think there's not more than 5,000 in that article, but there's actually a reduction of $11.98. I think that has to do with workers' comp as well. And that is the overview, the 90,000 overview of the increases. Questions?
Wow, thank you, Andrea.
Not done. Do you want me to keep going?
I want you to keep going.
So the last sheet that you have in front of you is the preliminary worksheet of, and you will see this often as we do versions of the budget. I'm going to read it from left to right. So in the top hand corner, you see miscellaneous revenue. This is where I budget additional revenue outside of the state and the local municipalities. And in the middle of it, you see a bright blue bar, tuition estimate. This is where I estimate the tuition that we'd be receiving from area school districts that send our school students here. We have a reduction of students. Now this year there's only 16 students, and while it was mentioned that we potentially could have more, I have budgeted a revenue decrease of about 80,000 based on the declining enrollment in tuition. So total miscellaneous revenue in tuition is 2,730,735. Of that, 700,000 is sitting in a special ed reserve account. We have not had to tap into it this year, so I'm confident that as of this point, I am confident that it will still be there for next year. So that is part of our fund balance. Carry forward, again, that's using our unallocated fund balance, the monies that we have remaining from previous budget years to buy down this budget. As a reminder, fund balance can only be spent to buy down a future budget year. We can't spend fund balance without authority of the taxpayers. So this is how we use fund balance to help control and offset increases in expenditures and reductions in revenue. State agency client tuition. These are students who come to the district who are wards of the state. Special ed bills out for these students and we get revenue. I am estimating a revenue of about 150,000 for next year. Interest, this is the interest that we earn on the funds in our checking account. We earn about $25,000 a month. So that is interest revenue. And we are also prohibited about the types of funds that we can invest in. We have to be very conservative. So it's not like we could go and put money in the stock market. That would not be allowed. Miscellaneous revenue is just that. We get revenue through the year from miscellaneous. 5,000 is a good guess of where we usually come in. Transportation fees, revenue in the amount of 21,500. As a reminder, the district no longer provides transportation for co-curricular activities. So PTAs reimburse the district for those field trips. And that is what, if our transportation department provides the transportation, we see the in-kind revenue, and that is what you see there. Athletic gates receipts, admissions, so that is gate receipts from football, from basketball, and from our musical. That is about $18,000 a year. CES, renewable energy credits. We are involved in a project, a renewable energy project with CES, which is actually also the company that we do go out to bid with for our electricity and our propane and our diesel and our unleaded. Every year they sell some of the renewable energy credits, and typically we can expect to receive about $10,000. So that is what you see. Total miscellaneous revenue in the amount of $2,730,735. Over to the right, you see last year's budget of $32,852,000. Below it, you see the budget that we are just looked at for $35,997,123.66, an increase of 9.57% or $3,145,123.66. Below that, you see, or 2 lines below that, you see the reduction for the miscellaneous revenue that we just went through and the amount of the $2.7 million figure, which leaves a net budget to be funded of $33,266,388.66. Now I'm going to go from left to right. So these figures in the middle are pulled right off the ED 279 that we reviewed for 3 hours at our last finance meeting. It was very exciting. The mill expectation rate of 5.645 is the mill rate set by the state. The required local contribution based on the valuations, the state valuations of our 4 municipalities is $8,863,214.50. If you look way over to the right, you see a $24,560,581.93 figure. That is also from the ED 279. That is what they say the contribution is to make education equitable for students in this district. If you subtract the $8 million in required local contribution, which is what the locals are required to pick up from that 24 million, you get the state contribution of $15,697,367.43. For those of you who were with us, I also discussed that educational group that Katie now belongs to. Because she belongs to that, the district is giving us an additional contribution of $104,115.56, which leaves a net budget to be funded of $8,601,691.17. We also refer to that as the additional local contribution. Okay. Next set of lines going from left to right. What you see is the prior 3-year valuation for each of our 4 towns. So it's a 3-year average for 24, 23, 22, and the total amount of those 4 valuations. And then you see the valuations, the 3-year average on the current ED 279, which is about a 16.89% increase. An increase to Gardner of 18.995%, an increase to Pittston of 15.752%, an increase to Randolph of 13.985%, and an increase of West Gardner in the valuation of 16.114%. So based on the percentage of each town's total valuation, so for example, Gardner's $583,000 valuation is 37.16% of the overall valuation total of 1.570 billion. Anyway, it's 37.16% and so on and so forth. So Pittston's percentage is 21.73, Randolph's percentage is 8.86%, and West Gardner's is 32.25%. Using those percentages that I just mentioned, if you multiply those out by the local contribution, which is above, that's what each town would be responsible for. If you use those same percentages and you multiplied by the additional local that I spoke of, that was remaining to be funded, that's what each of the 4 towns would need to pick up. Adding the required local contribution and the additional local, Gardner would need to pick up $6,489,968.29. Pittston would need to pick up $3,795,501.50. Randolph would need to pick up $1,547,269.84, and West Gardner would need to pick up $5,632,166.05. So in the last set of colored blocks, what you see is the dollar increase as well as the percentage increase for those 4 towns. So the increase to Gardner would be $1,369,976.85, or an increase of 26.76%. The increase to Pittston would be $717,310.93, an increase of 23.30%. The increase to Randolph would be $272,971.69, an increase of 21.42%. The increase to West Gardner would be $1,078,664.70, an increase of 23.69%. An overall increase to the four towns of $3,438,924.17, an overall increase of 24.52%. So as a comparison, last year we passed along an increase of $583,219.74. A lot of numbers, sorry, or an increase of 4.34%.
But we started, which is much
We
higher.
started,
Much,
we
much
always
higher.
start, we always started a much higher place. Mhm.
So the goal is to get to single digits. Now,
The goal is to get to some place where the board feels comfortable.
sending it all out.
Yeah, it's no guarantee it's gonna be single digits if we're coming down from 24.52%. What did we come down from in the original budget?
Last year,
Yeah,
I think it was high. It was high.
Bigger percentage.
It was, last year, there was a lot of things that were working in our favor. One of them obviously is health insurance, which is a huge cost to the district. As I said in one of our finance meetings, that our medical loss ratio has increased substantially. In addition, there are lots of things going on in the world as far as health insurance costs. I don't anticipate coming in at the same less than 3% as we have in the last few years. I expect our increase to be high. I might be pleasantly surprised, but I budgeted for 15. The high right now is 14%, so we do know that we'll at least be able to cut 1%. They announced that last week. We will not know until the end of April what the actual high is as far as the highest increase that they'll pass along. So we have a little ways to go, unfortunately.
And Andrea and I will continue meeting with each department and administrator to make sure that we're really going through that itemized list and looking for places where we can reduce. We know that 24.52% is unrealistic and unbearable. So that is a next step. We will have reductions for you next week as a finance committee.
Mhm.
And from there, we will just continue to work through the process week by week. We have a lot of hard conversations and harder decisions.
So as a reminder, this process needs to wrap up by the middle of April. There is now a 21-day posting requirement for municipalities, so it needs to be posted 21 days. What I want to say is before the June. So there's a new posting requirement that Greg made us aware of, so he's going to look at our timeline to make sure that we don't have to move the date, that we have to set our budget closer. It's on our hearing, so I'm hoping that we don't have to set our budget any earlier than we're scheduled to set it. I think we've got hard work ahead of us, and I
Yeah,
think
we need all the time we can get.
Agreed.
We'll do our best.
C.
What's that?
Are we ready for agenda C?
I think we are.
Okay. You wanna start us off?
So we mentioned, or Katie mentioned during the board meeting that we had conversations with Scott Brown and his team at the state. He oversees facilities. Gabe, Katie, and I sat in with their team virtually to discuss things and ways of moving the district ahead. And as Katie mentioned, somebody is going to need to make a proposal to the department or the state on how to change school construction. Basically, there isn't enough money. And the way that they're currently funding projects, basically, projects are lining up faster than they're knocking them off the list. Projects are very expensive. It is very expensive to do school construction. So they're thinking that, and they were very non-committal, but he was thinking that we would be looking at more of a cost sharing. And that instead of funding projects as high as they do, that the districts would be responsible for a larger percentage. And I think he thought that this was going to be disappointing to us. But we've been talking about locally, the possibility of a locally funded project. So for somebody like us, hearing him talk about sharing costs and maybe moving us along the path faster, we were very encouraged by what we heard.
It's
right?
actually more hopeful. I mean,
Mhm.
we are well down on the list as far as getting a fully funded project, but this idea that we might be able to contribute a portion and have funding at a particular percentage point of the project it changes things. You'll remember that I had shared last week that the recommendation was to get a 10-year enrollment projection, start to collect information in order to present the information to the full board so that you all can make an informed decision about next steps and where we go. In the meantime, that whole task force committee group recommended thinking creatively as a school district about ways to consolidate as a means of reducing the duplication of services that we have across 6 buildings. And one idea that they really honed in on was the utilization of space. And so that really would mean a consideration around potentially moving grade levels to maximize space in particular buildings. And so our work behind the scenes really is having those conversations, producing information in a way that we can bring to you so that you can make an informed decision about next steps. There is a financial implication for some of this work, particularly that enrollment projection. Do you want to take it from the financial end?
I'm just going to rewind just a hair. So the conversation that we had is, we're stuck. Basically, the state isn't funding additional projects. How do we move forward? And he suggested, as Katie mentioned, doing studies, an enrollment study amongst other studies. And he mentioned several of them. Some of them I'm not familiar with. But if you remember that when we did the school construction application, we contracted with a company called BRC. Thank you. And so we were having a conversation about having to go back out to do an RFQ, a request for qualification, which is needed pretty much anytime you do these huge projects. But we were talking about, we've invested money with BRC. I don't know why I can't remember that. And not wanting to have to go out for a RFQ. So the conversation that I had with council is, is there a way for us using
That company.
Yeah, that company, WBRC, that company, rather than having somebody duplicate all the work that we paid for. And what Greg said, who is one of our attorneys at Drummond Woodson said, as long as the cost of those, that additional work is not above 50,000, that we can contract directly with WBRC because they are on the state's list of approved vendors. So we are going to, and I'm not quite sure, at some point, we're going to come to you and ask you to approve us contracting with BRC to do these projects that the facilities team at the state recommended that we do, that would position us in a good place in the event that they open applications up again for this new,
Hybrid.
the new hybrid funding formula. We just want to be put in the best possible place. He also talked about an enrollment study, and we were trying to find a way of doing an enrollment study, and he recommended,
NASDAQ?
is it NASDAQ?
It is.
So he recommended joining NASDAQ, and they would do an enrollment study for basically the cost of membership. So we're looking at putting these things in place. I think the conversation is waiting to see what's recommended to the state about school construction before we start spending lots of money to see what it is we need. But I think the three of us talked about, it would make good sense. And he did mention consolidating our schools, because we talked about how difficult it is to fund schools based on the current school formula, right? That our valuations are increasing, our enrollments are decreasing, and that we needed somebody to come in and look at how our space is being used and whether there's space, I don't know, what's the word? Whether there's space that can be better, better used. Gabe, do you remember some of the other studies they mentioned?
It was a utilization
Yeah.
study. I mean,
Capacity.
this school is 120,000 square feet. How can we best utilize the 120,000 square feet to service, as many students as possible and meet all of the needs, special ed needs, and everything in the building. Just because there's square footage doesn't mean it won't fit every
It's all usable.
niche space. So they would be able to look at what we have and say, this is what you can do.
Energy savings was the other big focus. So enrollment, the energy savings, when we really look at maximizing capacity and utilization of space and the resulting energy savings that would mean.
Is there a time limit on contracting WBRC? Like, because okay, so.
I think we're at this point waiting to see the recommendation that comes out in, did he say August? Did he say the summer? Is that what he said? Sadie?
Summer, and I didn't note a specific month. He said
Yeah, I don't
summer.
know if he specifically knew when it would be out, depending on, it was dependent on something
Yeah.
when we were talking, whether
Wanted to
it's
make sure we weren't going to
statutes,
miss a window.
when things were
No.
passed through.
They were very interesting to talk to. I felt like the three of us got a lot out of it. They recommended us meeting with us whenever,
Yeah,
you
they're
know.
available to us for
Mhm.
continued consultation, which is,
That's great.
Yeah,
really
it was
helpful.
great. Yep, agreed.
we're not the only district in this situation. And so we can certainly tap into what they can offer us with experience around the state.
I think Molly was first, her hand was up.
My only other question was, and I know we've kind of discussed it before, but it's for general knowledge. This list that we've been placed on, like, this doesn't come up every year.
No.
Has it been like 10 years? How long has it been since we've been able to even submit an application again?
It's a great question. I'm not sure.
We did it,
I think it was 8.
something like
I
that.
believe the last time we submitted, it was at least 8 years ago. So they're only right now looking to fund was it the top 7? I believe it was.
Out of
Somewhere
90
around-
some.
Out of the 96.
So there's, 90-ish other schools that are as needy as we are, some more.
And at that time, Gabe,
So-
did we fill out an application for every school?
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't, it was really just.
8 years ago, is what I mean. I know we did,
Recently,
Gotcha.
yes, we
Recently
followed
we
the
did.
same.
but 8 years ago,
Back then, we did not,
Yeah.
put one for every school.
Did we just do 2? Did we just
Yeah.
do Pittston and,
Yeah,
Randolph back then?
It's in Randolph.
Yeah.
And I believe that was the case prior to, for the other cycle also before that. I believe we've got two separate cycles.
Joanne?
I was gonna say, it doesn't make sense to join that organization and get the projected enrollment done sooner rather than later, so that when we do know, we have the statistics available to us. And then my other question is, if we do end up in that situation, we would have to take out a bond, right? And that would have to be approved by the voters? Okay.
I feel confident that we could find the membership fee in this year's budget, and I think it does make a lot of sense to jump on the opportunity now and take advantage of this time.
Yeah.
And I certainly can bring that to the full board.
I think we should bring it to the full board for sure.
Do you know approximately how much it is? I completely agree, just what.
I think he said,
$2,000.
that's what I thought he said.
I didn't record it,
Much
but-
cheaper than securing enrollment
Is that what you remember?
report on its own.
Yeah, I believe it was only a couple $1,000s. Yeah, it is much more expensive. I do remember back, and I believe it was during the time when TC Hamlin and Pittston, we did the study back then. It was.
Back then, we did, it was a live birth study,
Mhm.
and that was a complete failure.
I have yet to see a good enrollment report.
Yeah, I want to
They're
know how they
just
do
all
that.
flawed.
Yeah,
The
this
thing
last.
is you can't project who's gonna move in and who's gonna move out and who's gonna have kids. I mean, it's a little crazy.
But when you're looking at either building a school, that is one of the things that they're going to look, to make sure that we have, yep.
Also, I think in going out to the communities and the voters to say, look, that this is the projection, this is what we can save if we do consolidate schools, if we do this now, you know, and go to a bond, and the state's gonna pick up a portion of it. People are gonna wanna know exactly how much is gonna be saved in the long run.
And my
Absolutely.
understanding about the state picking up a portion, because the school board did this as well, had this presentation, is that it is partly gonna be need-based, who needs the most, what is the greatest need, so it could be helpful.
My understanding on the return of the new one, I think, or the consolidation, is that there'd be substantial, like, heating and electric savings, like kind of starting year one and then continuing, is that right?
Because of improvements in efficiency.
Yeah, just because we've consolidated where we're having that. It's focused in one building or two buildings or whatever.
I would think so. I mean, I don't have anything official, Tony, but Gabe,
Yeah, I mean, definitely running multiple facilities is more expensive than if we can consolidate down. It's the same consolidating services. It's kind of along the same lines. That's why there's a reduction in that, because you can consolidate the services together. It's the same with buildings. You know, if we can just heat 2 buildings versus 6 buildings, there's definitely a savings.
And that's something with WBRC, I got it right? That they may be able to point us in a direction of, if we're actually looking at closing a facility, what might make the most sense.
Which one?
Yep. So,
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll see. It's a conversation to be
Continued, and yeah, I do think we should bring it to the full board for conversation and information.
okay,
Yeah.
got it on our list.
All right. Future agenda items?
So next Tuesday, we will talk about budget.
So this is the time when finance is gonna meet.
Finances weekly at 5 o'clock
o'clock.
on Tuesdays.
Yes. Until
Until
we get a budget.
Meetings will continue until morale improves.
Keep
I
'em up.
tried to be happy about it.
Smiley one. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate your help. 6:44.
Will you send me an
I'll send you an email.
remind me?
Night, everybody.